Hello. Okay. Welcome to day 4 of the Design Masterclass. As you can tell, we're in a really different vibe and space today, and I wanted to show you the difference. So in my last couple of videos, I've just been in my office. My webcam is like not the nicest quality, and we've been doing a lot of screen sharing, so it worked for what it was. But that isn't the kind of content I would put out in the world. I'm today displaying to you the kind of content I would put out into my page, onto one of the places that you would find me, so that you can see the difference and why the vibe actually very, very much matters. It doesn't mean that you can never make content, that isn't exactly perfect. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that the vibe freaking matters, and today we're talking about how to take that vibe that we set up on the very first day and translate it into the content that you make yourself. So we talked about in day 2 how you're going to take your vibe and match it to like the graphics you make, right? Like the static posts that use text and you're making them in Canva and all that kind of jazz. We talked about that. Then we talked about all the places you're going to put it, right? And like why this cohesive thing matters. And today I want to talk about like how are you going to actually pull this off and make content that matches your vibe, like with what you have. So obviously my setup is kind of dreamy, but also this is what I do. It's super, super important to me that my content is A, really fucking nice, and B, really speaks to my ideal client, because I teach about making content, and also I sell content, right? I make professional content for people. So if I had shitty content, people would be like, wow, that's really sus, obviously. So those are the reasons that it's very important to me to have quite professional content, right? Like I'll do stories with my phone camera and that's fine, but I never put something onto my actual like feed that stays for a long time that isn't of this quality. So that really matters to me, but I also want to talk to you today about how you can make content that matches your vibe that you've chosen, so that you can consistently start making content that actually matches your vibe, matches what we've decided is the new look of your brand, and that it actually makes sense to who you're talking to. So let's talk about my setup for a second here. Okay, so obviously this goes with my brand colors. We talked about how black, white, brown, and green are my brand colors. And what do we have here? Exactly those colors. I didn't have this before. This didn't just show up. I didn't walk in one day and be like, oh, look at this beautiful thing that someone made for me. No, I had to do this myself. I went to the hardware store and I bought this black paint and I painted my wall. This is my office. So right over there is my computer. And that's where you saw me the last couple days sitting and working and screen sharing with you. So this is just an open space of wall. It's not very big, right? Like it's just like my arm width. This is a piece of my house that I decided, oh, sorry, little plant. I decided it was important enough to me and that I make enough content that I'm going to make a space that's beautiful, that I'm going to make content in so that it looks fucking good. Like, instead of choosing excuses, I just decided to make it different, right? And not all of this I got in the same day, right? Over time, I've collected things and added things and taken things away so that it looks exactly like my vibe, and that's how I roll, obviously. So I'm not saying you have to go out and spend thousands of dollars to make this perfect setup. What I'm saying is let's check your vibe and then let's look around for what you have and then start to build upon it. Because if you're actually serious about your business, like show up and show that. Like showing up in your sweatpants with your hair undone and just being like, oh, this is my thing, please buy it. Come on. Show them that you care. Like, show them that you give a shit. I hate this rhetoric of like, oh, social media is so hard and like I'm so hard done by because I have to show up and post. Like, that gives such ick vibes. Like, you have a free place to display your business to millions of people and make money without paying for anything. Like, yeah, you could pay for ads, but you don't have to. And people are complaining about it. To me, I'm like, come on, guys. Like, let's be a little fucking grateful for this amazing tool we have pre-built for us, and all we have to do is get intentional about who we're talking to, do some fucking homework, and put in some elbow grease, and then we can make like a lot of money on the internet. Come on. Let's reverse that feeling and like really get into a little bit of gratitude about that. So back to my setup. I have my cute microphone, right? It goes with the vibe. And do you want to know a secret about this microphone? It's not collecting the noise right now. Do you know what it is? I'm going to show you. This little lapel mic. I could put it here if I wanted to, but it's kind of ugly. So I clip it on here. My cute looking microphone doesn't actually work with my camera. And that's okay. It goes with the vibe. And so I'm just using the resources I have, like lapel mics, which I use for my clients that hook directly to my camera so everything syncs and it's good audio. I do that and I just pop them on there so that this goes with the vibe, because I could have no microphone, but I really feel like it just gives that extra, like, it like displays it, right? Like, you know, I'm podcasting because there's a big fucking microphone. You know that I mean business and that I'm a director of iconic brands. I'm in a fucking director's chair. Like 1,000, you know how they say a picture paints 1,000 words? Like, show them what you're doing. Show them who you are. Like, use props, use your space to show people who you are. Like, give them a visual representation of who you are and what you do. There's somebody who I follow who does like yoga and breath work, and she always does her videos right in front of this like big wall Pilates thing. I don't even know what it's used for, but like, as soon as I see it, I know what she's doing. She's set up exactly right for it. And I'm like, that's such a great visual cue for people to know, like, what is it, right? Like, my whole thing here matches my brand. I've got my beautiful plant, which, if you know plants, a fiddly thing is not easy to keep alive. So like, amazing. But it's the exact right color. Like, this is the exact right color. I have other houseplants, but they're not the right color, so I don't use them. I have my beautiful director's chair, which so matches my vibe, which I didn't have before, but my parents gave it to me as a present. So nice. But they knew it would match my vibe because I show my vibe. Right? Like, people are going to come out of the woodwork and be like, oh, this reminded me of you. But how are you going to remind them of something if you don't have like a signature thing? If you don't display what you do and how you do it, and you don't have like a color or a vibe that matches you, how are people going to know, hey, this reminds me of you? You are just like this thing, right? If you don't do that, then how are they going to know what you're like? Right? We're displaying it over and over again. So I don't always wear the suit, but today felt like a suit day. And I'm not sticking the mud. So it's like open. You got some like boob and tattoo showing. You got like the tie. Got my hair. I need a haircut. So, no judging on that. But, like, I've got the vibe. I did the makeup. I even put on a scent. You can't smell it through the camera, but to me, it matters because I'm getting in the archetype of my brand. I'm ready to do fucking business. I'm not in my sweatpants anymore. I was up at 5 a.m. working out, doing my cold plunge, doing my little breathworks thing, getting in the fucking mindset, doing my mom things, had my mom hat on, took that hat off. Now it's business time. And I want you to think about being intentional. Like, really, who are you in your business and how can you really emulate that? Like, maybe you don't have a setup like this, but I didn't. I had to make this, right? So let's think about, like, what is your brand type? Like, what is your brand style and how can we reflect that? So maybe like one of the examples we did was like that boho, like pink and beige and white and cream colors, with like the swivelly fonts, that kind of thing. So if that's your style, so do you have a plain wall in your house, right? Like, this used to be white. So if I was doing that vibe, I would have done more like a creamy color, something that matches my skin. I can't do yellow because it just washes me out. Obviously I've been a little intentional with my brand because these colors look phenomenal on me. The reason that green is one of my colors is because my eyes are green. And if I wear green, it looks phenomenal. And that's not me being vain. That's just literally, I wouldn't choose a brand color that doesn't match my skin. It would just be silly. So that was a sidebar. But if I was going to try to do that boho look, right? So maybe I'd have like a squishy white chair. Or if I didn't have a fancy chair, maybe I'd have a kitchen stool, right? And then maybe I would put like one of those like big semicircle boards up here. And if I didn't have the money for fancy art, maybe I would go to the dollar store and cut a big poster board into that shape and paste it on the wall. No one would fucking know. How would they fucking know? But what I'm saying is, why not set up a place in your house to make content? If you're serious about your business, like, do you have a desk and a laptop? Well, probably, because you're serious about doing that part of your business. So why wouldn't you make a space to make content? Like, if this actually matters to you, then like, show it. Put some effort in, put in some elbow grease. So if you're trying to decide, like, where in my house should I do this? So my office, like, I'm very, very blessed that I have a beautiful fucking office. Like, I mean, it wasn't beautiful when we bought it. It was kind of a shithole. But I have all these windows behind, so you can't see them because you're in the camera, obviously. But behind is all these big windows. Natural light is your friend. Look for the natural light. If you're wondering where the fuck do I set this up, look for your natural light first. If you can't do natural light, get yourself a ring light. So I have a ring light here because this side of the office is like a sunroom situation. Great light. This side has no windows. So what I do is I have that light here, so it's filling this side of my light, so I'm not like really bright on this side and really dark on this side, and it doesn't look off, right? That's just a little lighting tip for you. But what I'm saying is, I found the light source, and then I was like, okay, now I have the light source. This size of wall was kind of perfect because it really only has to fit me. And I know that I make my content in vertical because that's what people see on the internet. So I'm like, okay, this is a space that works. I painted the wall. I got the beautiful chair. I used to have my other chair, which also matched the vibe. Sometimes I use just a black chair, also matches the vibe. I got the microphone because it really sets up like in a visual cue what I'm doing. I got the good outfit. I got the outfit that matches my brand. I have myself like done. I'm not saying you have to put on a full face of makeup every day. I'm not saying you have to wear any makeup, but like look like you care. Right? Look like you're showing up. Like if you were meeting your clients live in person or going to an interview, say somebody rolled into your DMs and was like, I want to buy your best, biggest, fucking most beautiful package and I want to pay you consistently for the next year. Can we meet in person? What the fuck would you wear? Hopefully something that shows that you give a shit, right? So think of that when you're making your content. Like those are the people who are finding you online. Those clients, they're finding you online. So act like you care. Right? So the other thing I did was put this beautiful plant because it matches the color. It's also covering this light switch, which is ugly. And I got really sick of trying to edit it out of every single video. So easy peasy, right? The whole thing matches. The whole vibe. You can tell my vibe from a 5-second clip of this video. And then you start to make the content and you use your brand voice like we talked about yesterday. But how you present it, it really matters. And I know, nothing has to be perfect. I'm not trying to pretend to be perfect. I'm still cursing. I'm still fumbling on the words a little bit. You know, my hair isn't perfect. I got a little chips in my nail polish. So nothing is exactly perfect, but it matches the vibe. You can tell by the way I'm speaking and the way I look and how I presented myself that it matters to me. And this is the brand vibe. So when you hire me, you think, wow, if she's willing to put that much effort into a simple podcast or a simple training, a one part of a 5-day amazing training that was sold for a really fucking good deal, like how much effort is she going to put in when I hire her one-on-one for thousands of dollars? That's what I'm trying to get across here. It's more than just the fonts and the pictures, right? It's the whole vibe. Like, what are you trying to tell people? Are you trying to tell them you're safe with me? Right? Like I share myself to show you that you're safe here. Like your stories are safe here. Your feelings are safe here. You're allowed to have your shit not together, but I am going to hold you accountable. And you can tell that by the way I speak, by the way I look, by the way I present my content, right? So all of this matters. All of it matters. And I want you to start thinking more holistically about like the brand. I want you to think way broader, bigger terms about this. Less of like, what is this one piece of content? And more about the big vision. Like, what is the big vision? Is the big vision that you want people to feel safe and you want them to know you're a fucking professional and you want them to know that you care about your business? Like, do you love your business? Because I love my business. Like, I love my business. I'm so fucking grateful that I get to show up every day and do work that I fucking love, that I'm really good at every day. And I get to be done at 3:30 so I can go pick up my kids. And I have this beautiful house. You know, I saw the potential in this house before it was on the market for 2 years before I bought it. And it looked like crap. And we ripped things out and put in floors and painted things. And I saw the potential in it. And I see the potential in you too. Like, take away the extras, take away what you think people should do, and just think about like what actually matters to me and how am I going to show that? Like, do your clients matter to you? Yeah, I hope so. Then show them that. Give them some effort. Like, put in some right? Like if you go on a date with someone and you show up like you don't care and then you talk shit the whole time, they're gonna be like, oh, we're not doing that again. Like, are you dating your clients? Not like actually, but like, are you showing up like you care? Like you're trying to give your best foot forward. I think that we've gotten so casual, and that's cool. Like show all your sides. I like to show the light and the dark because I don't want to mislead people, but also like it matters to me. So I'm going to show up like I matter. You know, I'm going to show up like I care about myself and like I care about you. So if you're wondering how to pull this off, like how are we going to actually set up something like this in your house? And maybe it doesn't look like the same to you. Like I also do stories in my kitchen. There's like a nice black supporting pillar thing, and like a good white wall behind it. And I'm like more in my casual clothes. And I do stories from there all the time. Also from my desk, you know, and there's just like my simple bookshelf behind it, but it still matches the vibe, right? I'm not saying every piece of content has to be in this much to do, but I do want you to actually start making an effort to make your content, make it make sense. Make every piece of content with some kind of actual goal in mind. Like, what are you trying to get out of this? Like when I get questions from my clients and they send me a question and they're like, hey, like, how do I make this make more sense? Like, how do I make these content pieces all fit together? I'm like, well, what's the purpose? What's the purpose of this? Are we trying to, you know, show them who you really are? Are we going to try and like show the good parts about your product? What are we showing? And like use some intention when you're doing your content, you know? Like I saw a reel this morning that I get what she was trying to do, but I was like, we can do better. It was like, oh, I'm cleaning my office and this is my behind the scenes. Look, instant content. And I'm like, okay, cool. But like, what does that show? You're cleaning your office. Cool. Good for you. But like, how does that connect with you and your ideal client? Like, what is that? What do you do? How do I know what you do? How do I know who you are from that? Like, give us something. And there can be just funny things. Like the point of your content could be that you're funny and lighthearted. Like that could be a thing. Or she could have spun that and being like, I really want to be intentional and set this up. And that's how I approach my clients is because I really care, blah, blah, blah. Like you could have added more there. It could have been like a whole thing. But what I want to say is that have some intention behind every post. Like what's the point? And go back through the content creation roadmap to look at what kind of things you're supposed to be posting, because that is an insanely good resource for this. But I want you to use some intention. Use some intention when you're putting on whatever you're going to wear for your stories. Use some intention when you're picking where in your house. Use some intention when you start to do things like this, right? Like incrementally, maybe you don't paint right away. Maybe you can't paint. Maybe you're in a rental. Okay, so what could you do? Like jump into the Facebook group, show us what you're working with, and then we can workshop some of this. That's why we have the group. Okay, that's all for today. We also have a live question and answer later on, so make sure you jump into that. I can't wait to see you, and good luck.